Okay, people, so we're going to try this again. So what we're going to do, originally I was just going to throw you to the wolves, but I thought we would uh, do a little formative before we get started. I think yesterday I was messing around with Gravit, which is going to be the program we're going to use, and it is similar-ish to Adobe Illustrator, but it's different enough to be a little frustrating and confusing at times, especially when you first start. So we're going to do a little kind of side project to get started. Um, More than anything, I just want it's to get you a little more hands-on and more time on the actual program itself. And so it's Gravit. There's obviously going to be a couple links in the class website. So it's going to look something like this. Well, exactly like this. When you first jump into it, I think you can just hit start now, and you might have to sign up an account. I did it a while ago, so I actually don't even remember at this point. So you have to wait patiently. Boom. Um, and you can actually, and you could pay for it and all that kind of stuff, but we don't want to do that. So we're just going to use hello. Um, the free version of it, and let's do a new design, paper size, and we'll just do US portrait. Okay, and one of the things that I found right away that you're going to want to do is to click on this thing where it says paper size off to the right, and we're going to hit clip content, because if you don't do that, you can only work inside of this platform, your paper, if you want to call it that. I also usually go full screen as well. So you can see big picture, it looks similar-ish. A lot of our tools that are usually that would normally would be down here in Illustrator just happen to be up at the top. Our layers, which are usually on the right side, are here on the left, and then our kind of like options for things that are usually up at the top or on the right side. So, but like I said, big picture, you can do a lot of the same kind of stuff. So let's make a circle, or let's make some shapes. Okay, so you can see all of a sudden, now that I made a shape on the right side, we have a bunch of different options. And so like I can round my corners off just like we did in Illustrator. I can change the opacity of it. I can change the um, color of it, right? I can use the eyedropper to pull different colors and that kind of stuff. Um, I can, if I make a second square, just change the color of that one to make it easier to see the difference. I can take these two and just our what we call pathfinders in Adobe Illustrator. I can go up here and hit subtract, and now intersect, any of that kind of stuff. So you can see it does work in a similar way. The one thing that I am not a huge fan of is that if we normally, like in Illustrator, if I move this, right, it's going to, like, this turns into its own separate piece. But in this program, it doesn't. It just says how it basically just changes how they interact with each other, which is kind of annoying. I'm not a huge fan of that. I can hit convert to path. And then it kind of turns into its own thing a little bit, but it's still not, exactly what I'm used to and what I normally like. And so, like I said, it just takes a little bit of time for you to kind of wrap your brain around all the different things. You just kind of have to troubleshoot. If you go to the class website, you'll see that in here, it's not 100% ready to go, but this is just kind of the big picture overview. In these areas down here, these are just the little tutorials versus me doing one full-on tutorial. So some of the expectations for this are show a variety of techniques, including compound, shapes, colors, etc. Right? I want you, similar to what we did for the other monster project before, Intentional colors, right? So try to think of like a color palette, originality, make something new. I don't want to just see a bunch of um, Sullys or people from Monsters Inc. Right? I want you to totally come up with your own little idea and sketch some things out, and then troubleshooting. I want you just to have more time on this. I'm going to give you a little over a week. I don't want you to spend more than two 2.5 hours on this thing, right? It is a formative. It's not even going to be a hugely heavy formative. It's going to be something that I just want you to get some time in using the software, so that way when you go to do your summative, you're not using this for the very, very first time. Okay. Um, oh, so that is what's going on. I'm going to minimize this for a second. Maybe. I will show you file, open recent. So you can see this is my guy. Right, so you can see it is a bunch of different shapes and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so have fun with it, play around, and troubleshoot. Oh, the last thing I was going to say is that you also, if you have access to Illustrator, totally feel free to use Illustrator. You don't have to use this program. And don't forget that if you have a computer at home where you can download software, you can get Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and all that stuff and then just log into it just like you would at school. So you don't have to pay for the subscription if you have a computer where you can actually download it. You cannot just do that on a Chromebook, but if you have your own like desktop, you can totally do that and just log in with your Google and ID, just like we did at school, and then sign in as a school account, not a personal account. So that's that. And yeah, play around with this.